Here we go. It's showtime. Do we have cool intro music? We got to work on the next podcast stuff. We got to get like an intro, like graphics.
That's the part that sucks is like you record a show, but it's like, okay, you can't do anything with it until you have all the other stuff ready.
Yeah. Well, I want to go. So I'm going to start buying some stuff next week. So we'll get the studio set up at the house. But yeah, it's going to be pretty fun.
I'm ready when you are.
All right. Welcome to the show. Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. Planning an epic weekend. This is the first weekend of the Lake House. So we've got the Lake House. Actually, the guys got it all set up last week. And we're going to be out there ripping around Lake Conroe. So if you guys are going to be on Lake Conroe this weekend, come by and see us at Party Cove. If you don't know where that's at, you're not one of the cool kids, I guess. So we'll be there for Friday and Saturday. I've got Wheels and Deals this Friday. So if you guys want to hang out with some cars and chat about some real estate, and mostly chat about cars, to be honest with you, we're meeting at Drift at noon. We'll be there till about 3. And then I will be headed up to Lake Conroe. Got to have an absolute blast. We're doing barbecue all weekend there, so that'll be fun. Then I'll be back in town, Houston, Saturday night for this really cool little date night that we've got planned. There's 12 of us, and we're taking a cooking class. And we are half the class. And from my understanding, the instructors are part-time comedians, and it can get pretty raw in there. And I'm not talking about the chicken that we'll be doing. So it's that's Saturday, and then I don't know what I'm doing Sunday. Got a Lamborghini for the weekend, so whatever you want. Yeah, bright blue Lambo. I may actually go out and play paintball, which would be interesting, pulling up in a Lamborghini. So we may get some video of that. But in any case, folks, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. So I had this thought, and it's a theme that I've been working on for the last couple of months. And that is when you ask somebody what they want, like, hey, Jason, I'm just, and everyone's always breathless at these real estate events. I don't know why. It always sounds like they just ran up a flight of stairs. Jason, actually, you know what it is? Rob said the worst cologne in the world is the air of desperation, which is what most real estate investors wear when these go to these real estate events. Jason, you don't understand. The market's going to crash. There's no deals out there. And I'm like, by the way, you guys have been saying the same thing since 2012. But be that as it may, it's only been 10 years. Maybe we'll be right at some point. There's no deals out there. The market is just crazy. I don't know what to do. And I always ask, well, what do you want? What do you want? What are you trying to accomplish? I had a really interesting conversation with a guy last night. By the way, I could tell who the successful real estate investors are in town because we were all at the Astros game yesterday. Like anybody who's in real estate or a business owner was at the day game. I ran into like 100 of y'all out there yesterday. Tons and tons of people. Had an absolute blast. We went out afterwards and got home pretty late, but had an absolute blast. And one of the conversations I had with this guy, and by all accounts, he's considered successful. But one of the conversations I had is, hey, what'd you do before you got into real estate? Well, he was a really high-end engineer. And I said, okay, well, if you don't mind talking about it, like how much you making, what's your net worth? And so we started looking at some numbers, and I said, dude, you should have just kept your corporate job and bought 4 houses. And it was like, I just broke the guy's heart. And I said, look, this is the problem with most entrepreneurs. I know a lot of people's books. It's probably a good way to say this. And I know very few that make enough money to offset the risk of being an entrepreneur. Wholesaling real estate is not entrepreneurship. I know that's going to be very controversial. Being a real estate agent is not entrepreneurship. It's being a business owner. And a lot of people are confused about the difference between the two. Very few, and I mean very few people in this space are true entrepreneurs. Very few. It's infinitesimally small. And let me explain what entrepreneurship really is. You're designing a business for a novel service. In fact, I'll do you one more. Peter Thiel, who helped Elon Musk develop PayPal, has a really great book called 0 to 1. And one of the things he says in that book is he said, you're doing this right if you have no competitors. Why would you ever want to build a business that has competition already? The joke we have in our office is we don't have any competitors. In fact, I got a really interesting text that Rob forwarded from a lunch that he had did earlier this week. And this particular gentleman is, how can I put this? Very close with a internationally renowned speaker and writer on personal finance and business. Now, if I mention his name, you guys will all instantly know who he is. And he said, you guys have one of the most unique business models I have seen in a long time. And Rob and I's response to that is, yeah, it's easy to be successful when you don't have any competitors. Like, we have no competitors in this space. That's why you can become so successful so quickly. But a lot of people confuse business ownership with entrepreneurship. In fact, even more folks confuse being a sole proprietor with being a business owner. You literally need to make, let's say you're a $150,000 a year guy. For you to quit your job and start your own thing, you need to be making 10 times that number just to manage the risk alone. Let's say you're an oil and gas guy, you're making $150 a year, doing okay, maybe $250 a year. $250 a year, you're doing okay. Nobody's starving over at your house, still taking the nice vacations every year. And then, man, maybe I should quit my job and become a business owner. I'm like, why? Now, don't get me wrong. I know you don't like your job. I don't know what it is with engineers, especially in oil and gas. None of you guys like your jobs. Actually, most of y'all don't. I'm going to say not everyone, but most of y'all don't like your jobs. I have a theory behind that, by the way. However, everyone wants to think, oh, I'm gonna start this freedom thing, and even if I made a little bit less, but I had control of my own time. I'm like, dude, you don't understand the risk you're taking. Worst thing that happens, you lose your job, you go get another one. In the world of business ownership, your business fails, you're writing some pretty big checks. And then what do you do next? There are very few people I have met in this space that are true business owners, and there's even fewer that are actually entrepreneurs. So what ends up happening is you become so ego invested in telling other people. What you're really doing is seeking validation from others. You become so ego invested that you've got to say, oh, I'm a business owner now. My favorite's on Facebook. I'm a boss babe. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Are you actually accomplishing the goals that you set forth? And then the question is, well, why did you set those goals in the first place? Are you getting the results that you want? Yeah, I'm making some money. I'm kind of an investor. I call myself an investor. Okay. What was your goal 3 years ago when you got started? And have you achieved that? And I can tell you the vast majority of people I've met don't. Because they get their ego wrapped up in, I'm a business owner, I'm a boss babe. I don't know what guys call themselves. I'm hustling, I'm grinding, whatever dudes say that's stupid. And I'm like, nobody cares about your hustle. Nobody cares about your grind. Nobody cares about the stupid stuff you post on Facebook and Instagram. You should only care about one thing, and that's the results that you want in your life. This is Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. All right. You ready to go?
Ready.
Welcome back, Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. We're talking about getting the results. We're putting the ego aside and getting the results that we want. Most of the stuff I see out there is just posturing to look cool. Oh, I'm a business owner, I'm a boss babe, I'm grinding and hustling, all that other nonsense no one cares about. No one cares about your business. Trust me. Nobody cares. And in fact, a lot of cases, your family doesn't even care either. All that you should worry about is, hey, what am I trying to accomplish in this life? And how is real estate going to help me get there? And then back into, okay, here's the plan. I want to accomplish this by this date. And then you go out and accomplish it. And you focus solely on that one thing. You don't, this is the other thing. This is another one I see all the time. Investors start becoming, quote, successful, and then it's vacations and cars and all that nonsense. I get it. I put that stuff on my Instagram, but be quite honest with you, I really don't care it's something our media people tell us to put up there. But I could really care less who sees what. I'm enjoying those cars and vacations. We're going up to the lake this weekend. It's going to be spectacular. I am already pumped like a kid before Christmas. Tonight, going out with a bunch of buddies of mine for Cinco de Mayo. I usually do not go out for Cinco de Mayo, but we've got a driver and all that other stuff, so we won't have to deal with Uber and all that other nonsense. Meeting over at a buddy's house, and then we're going to be ripping around town. We're going to have an absolute blast. And really, I'm just going to hang out with my buds. Like, I don't really care about, it'll be Cinco de Mayo, there'll be a lot of people out, we'll be partying, all that, so that's fine. But I just haven't seen a couple of these guys in months. Now, of course, are we going to be doing videos when we're popping bottles at the club and all that other stuff? Probably. But really, I'm just there to hang out with my buds that I haven't hung out with in a long time. Most people are ego invested in the things that they're doing in their business and investment career. And the sad thing is that ego doesn't cash a check. Ego doesn't pay for that, the HEB bill. Ego does not pay for the Lambo either. It really doesn't. I'm excited. I got the Evo this weekend, so I'm kind of curious how it's going to be. But I can already feel, I'm like, it's going to be fun, but it's, can I just have my Porsche already? Porsche USA, can you get my Porsche done now? I'm like, yeah, without sinking to the bottom of the ocean. If you guys missed that, there was a container ship. Actually, it was a car carrier ship. Very famous one. Porsche uses, Lambo, Ferrari, everybody uses it. I can't remember the name of the ship, but everybody uses it. So in all my car groups, Porsche, Lambo, Ferrari, and they did a lot of JDM imports. So Japanese domestic market cars would be brought to the United States to collectors. So, and I'm a part of those groups on Facebook as well. And so all those groups were reporting that, oh my gosh, look, and they were finding pictures of their cars being in this big ship. It was really, really neat. And then all these guys are so sad. But Porsche has already said, hey, if your car was on the ship, we're literally going to bump everybody back so you can get your car, so you don't have to wait at the end of the line, right? They're going to put them back to the front of the line so they get their car to them. That's pretty classy. Porsche's doing a solid to those guys. So, in any case, what is it you're really trying to accomplish? And here's what happens, and I stole this from Ryan Stone on one of his broadcasts. Men and women have no idea what they want. They really don't. And here's how you can tell. You go, hey man, what are you trying to accomplish? And they make something up in situ, meaning they're standing in front of you and they're going, well, I'd really like to, cash flow and, equity and, retire and freedom and value. It's this just nonsense they spew at you. Nobody has a goal. By this date, I want to do this. By this date, by 2030, 30 million in net worth. Phase one is 5 million free and clear by this date. How are you accomplishing it? Where are you at now? This is where we're at right now. I'm getting a ton of questions. We're selling, what did Rob say? Is it 15 million in real estate? We're selling a bunch of stuff right now. 12, 15, I can't remember what the number is. And I get a lot of questions. Let me put it this way. The inexperienced people in real estate ask this question. Why would you sell that real estate? Jason, aren't you the guy that says hold on to this stuff? And I'm like, I am, but here's the conversation I had with Eddie Gant yesterday. I ran into Eddie at the baseball game, Eddie and Johnny, and two bankers. Funny story, we're all sitting in the same section. So He goes, hey, man. I said, hey, I don't know if you knew, we're kind of selling a bunch of stuff. He goes, oh, yeah, I kind of heard through the grapevine. He goes, let me guess, putting some cash in the bank, moving on, taking partners out. I said, that's exactly what we're doing. Guys with experience, investors with experience know exactly what we're doing. You guys are selling a bunch of stuff. Uh-huh. Taking out money, putting cash in the bank, buying bigger deals, buying more deals. It is no different than what we tell the folks in the Texas Real Estate Mastermind. It's the exact same thing. Hey, year 2, you need some more money? Refinance or sell. Take that cash, go from 1 house to 4. Like if you don't have the liquidity, you don't have the capital, but you've got the equity, let's eat a little bit of that equity so we can grow the portfolio. We literally do the exact same thing we tell everyone else to do. I'm not up here telling you to buy apartment complexes and then I'm not buying apartments. I'm still buying single family. In fact, Mark sent me a text this morning and I said, hey, verify some numbers for me, but go ahead and contract those 3 assets you just sent me. I was looking at another deal this morning. Pretty cool little deal down in Galveston. We're doing it every single day, and we're doing the exact same thing we tell you guys to do. Now, the question is, what are the results you're trying to achieve with real estate? And I think before you spend a dime on real estate education, you really need to sit down and go, hey, what am I trying to accomplish here? It's okay if that's not your final goal, but at least have some clarity on, I don't know how I'm going to get here. This is the important piece. I don't know how I'm going to get here just yet. Like one of my goals is I want to have $1 billion in real estate by the time I'm 60. It's 16 years from now. It's totally plausible. Now, how am I going to do it? I don't have a clue. I mean, I got a pretty good idea. I got to buy a lot of real estate. Duh. But there are things that I'm going to have to learn in order to level up to get to that goal. That's okay. And some of those things are going to change. But the result, $1 billion by 60, is not going to change. And I've got some other goals in order to hit to reach that number. Now, a smart man would say, well, why do you want $1 billion in real estate by 60? And that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother show. But the reality is like at least have some idea of where you're going. Like this is what it should look like in the end. Stephen Covey says it like this: begin with the end in mind. All right, what does the end of this thing look like? You've got to have some picture, and it's not the vision board that the real estate guru tells you to put together that has cutouts of Lamborghinis and models and bottles of the club and big mansions and a big happy family. That's not what that actually looks like. In fact, I'll tell you this, none of that stuff will actually make you happy. But like, I think that's a big fallacy. It's like, if I only had this, I'd be happier. Now, don't get me wrong. If you are suffering abject poverty, yeah, a little bit of money goes a long way. But I'd imagine that's not most of the people we're talking to today. Most of the folks that listen to this broadcast got a decent little job, got a good little family, got a couple bucks in the bank, or you're single and you do well, and you're just trying to figure out how to buy some more real estate. That's really what this group is. So the question is, before we start spending a bunch of time and money on stuff, let's kind of figure out where you want to go. And then let's develop some reasonable goals to achieve the results that you want. But then don't listen to all these other people in this space that say, well, you know, if you just gotten into owner finance, then you could do this and this and this. And it's like, no, you need the equity to build wealth. So that's out. Well, if you just wholesale deals, I mean, then you get some money, and that doesn't work either. You're going to get taxed as a dealer. You're going to pay both sides of FICA and FUTA. You're going to pay 16% in taxes before you even get hit in with income taxes. Okay, so wholesaling's out. That also means flipping is out. So what are you left with? You're left with buy and hold. Short-term rentals, long-term rentals. It's that simple. I am amazed. You know, Eddie and I were talking about it yesterday. And I said, Eddie, I think people just make this business way too damn hard. He goes, it's all cash flow. I said, yeah. If it cash flows, buy it. The equity will make you rich. The cash flow is what allows you to stay in business, and equity is what builds wealth. So if you can't get into appreciating assets, if you can't get cash flow, then it doesn't make sense as an investment. That's why owner financing doesn't work. It's why wholesaling doesn't work. It's why flipping doesn't work. I have not met, let me put it to you this way. I meet a lot of people. And even those folks that have those businesses that are, quote, successful at wholesaling, flipping, notes, owner finance, that sort of thing, I would never want to trade lives with them. But the people I do look up to that own commercial real estate and single family as long-term and short-term rentals, those are the people I aspire to be. Sam Zell is a good example of that. One of the most successful real estate investors in the history of the world. And what does he buy? He buys on cash flow, and his stuff has a ton of equity in it. That's where real wealth occurs. Everything else is just a transaction. And that's okay. You can go to a real estate event and say, I'm a real estate investor because I do notes. And I'm like, okay, how much are you really making? The S&P is down 15% year to date. In the last 12 months, the S&P is negative 2%. If inflation is running 15%, that means you lost by investing in the S&P 17%, negative 17%. My houses appreciated in that same time 20 to 30%. If you really want to get into the numbers, the city of Houston, even during the largest real estate crash in the world, our median home price continued to rise. Like, you've got to think that the worst real estate crash in the world in Texas really only lasted 6 months. Your values flatlined, they may have dipped a little bit, but then bang, they shot back up. 2009 and 2010, it was on. It's really that simple. And I think everybody's ego gets involved in, I'm smarter than the next guy. And I'm like, no, you know who the smart people are? They buy the assets, real assets, businesses, real estate that produces cash flow. And the real geniuses sit on their hands. Why do they sit on their hands? Because when you sit on your hands, you can't go into your portfolio and screw with it. That's where most people, they put their ego, they put their pride in, well, I'm flipping this one out, I'm putting it into a land deed trust, and I'm turning this one over here to owner finance because I'm going to sell it to this renter. And you're like, what are you doing? You're destroying your wealth because you want to sound smart at a real estate club meeting. That's ridiculous. The wealthy build their wealth real easily, one day at a time, one asset at a time. You buy a single family house, you fix it up, you put a tenant in there. Or you fix it up and you put it on Airbnb or VRBO. It's just that simple. We make this really, really hard. One of my favorite guys I follow is Rich Cooper. I'm a part of his community, which is absolutely fantastic. If you find him on YouTube, it's Entrepreneurs in Cars. And one of the things he says is, men are masters of complicating their life and then justifying it. Personal relationships, business relationships, intimate relationships, their businesses, finances, wealth. Everyone makes this really complicated. Everything in their life, make it real. Man, I got this going on with like, this friend of mine is doing this and I don't really like it. And I'm like, get rid of them as a friend. And don't get me wrong. I've had to take some of this. I've had to learn this lesson really, really hard the last 2 years. I get it. I'm preaching to the choir here because personally I've had to experience this the last 2 years. Oh, this relationship is not serving you anymore. You got to get out. Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, but there's this and it could turn around. Dude, I'm telling you, man, you're wasting time. You're just wasting time. And guys like you are super successful, do not have time to waste time on this nonsense. There's way better people out there. Oh, my mom is like a real drag, and, she just, whenever she calls, it's all down and terrible. I'm like, you're going to have to cut mom out. Oh, I can't do that. She's my mom. Well, then you can tell her, hey, mom, I can't take your phone calls because you're always such a downer. Oh, no, man, you don't understand, or, hey, my brother's always calling me because he needs money, and I'm like, don't take the phone call anymore. Well, if I don't, then, it might sully the relationship. Like, it sounds like the relationship sucks already. Oh, Jason, you understand, like, if I start investing in real estate, my family's going to think I'm crazy. I don't know if it's the right thing to do. And, well, do you understand the numbers? Yeah, I mean, you make a lot of money doing this, and I see the deals you guys are doing, and, and I'm like, okay, why are you taking advice from broke people? Another thing Rich says I absolutely love, avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. I didn't realize this, how many people really have a victim mindset, even people you would consider successful. Like, no one really takes, it just amazed me in a handful of relationships that I've had here in the last 2 years, of folks that are just unhappy. They sure look happy on Instagram and Facebook, but I can tell you they're not. People who are constantly seeking that external validation of social media, their peer group, friends, and family are not happy people. In fact, for those of us who are pretty successful, it also makes them very dangerous. Like, your validation, your source of happiness should come from you first. Like, that's where it's got to come from first. If it comes from anything outside, now, don't get me wrong, I feel pretty happy in the Lambo. We'll be picking up this beautiful blue Lamborghini tomorrow at around noon. I think I'm actually going to have them drop it by the house because I need my truck this weekend too. I'm going to be pretty cheery in that Lambo. The old Daniel Tosh bit. You ever seen anybody sad on a jet ski? Yeah, woo. Have you ever seen anyone cry on a jet ski? Of course not. We're going to be in some beautiful boats this weekend. Beautiful brand new ski boats, wake surfing boats. You're not going to find a frown on that boat unless you brought the wrong person. Guilty as charged, done it before, right? So it's just like, you're going to Mexico, there shouldn't be a frown in that group, right? Guilty as charged, brought that person. So it's like, look, you've got to avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. Yesterday, the Astros did a phenomenal job for us. We've been talking about getting a box for our mastermind folks and some of the folks that are investing with us. We're going to start to do events with the Astros. It's going to be really cool. We're going to get a box, probably have Orbit come by. We're going to get cheerleaders come by, just as appreciation for you guys investing with us. So we've been having that conversation. And then Rob and I have been flirting with getting season tickets. So we walked the entire stadium. And I sent an email to our guy over there, and I said, hey, this is kind of what we're looking at. He goes, hey, man, why don't we have you out at the park during the game, during the day? I said, okay, perfect. Let's go Wednesday. It was absolutely spectacular. We were in the Gallagher Club, which is really nice. Now, no one tell Patrick, I probably ate 17,000 calories of stuff I'm not supposed to. They had this ice cream thing, and they had what do you call it, crepes. They had a crepe cart. They were making fresh crepes for us. And I think Colby had like 10 of them. And then Brian went and got crepes, ice cream, and something. Like, we legitimately had 20,000 calories for lunch yesterday. And then, of course, I was going to say, well, and then I went back to the gym. But the gym's been closed for like 2 days. They had some issue. I don't know what's going on over there. Anyway, so I think they didn't. Maybe they finally opened it today. But it was so great. There wasn't a sad face in that whole crowd. The Astros obliterated the Mariners. Obliterated them. It was great. Great game. And then all the guys we were hanging out with last night, there wasn't a sad face in that group. We were having a blast. I don't know if you guys can hear Rob there. He's screaming at somebody upstairs. So avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. You just don't need those folks in your life. And at first, they're really hard to detect. But then when you hear stories about past lives, past relationships, past business partners, past business deals, all you hear is victim puke. This happened to me, that happened to me, this person was awful, and you're just like, whoa, whoa. This is a huge red flag here. You're telling me all those past relationships were bad? You're telling me all those past friendships weren't great with people you no longer have contact with? Telling me all those business deals were bad? Man, you sound really unhappy and really unlucky. I do not want to be around you. Wow, you're getting drug into court again? Yeah, I think I'm going to avoid you. You're getting more threats, more lawsuit threats. Like, I don't think you're a person I really need to be around. It is when you make your life insanely simple. I'll give you a perfect example of this. I'm getting excited. We're moving on my personal house. It is going to be so spectacular. I cannot wait to move in. And I've got this home theater system right now, and it's kind of squirrely. It uses a tube amp. If you guys are familiar with tube amps, really cool. You have to be a real like hi-fi nerd to like tube amps. Anyways, it doesn't have you can't control the volume with a remote control. You got to get up and like change the dial on it. That's how clandestine it is. So before microprocessors, there were tube amps. They look like they're little vacuum tubes, and they produce power is probably the best way to say it. And they can produce sound. So they tend to sound a little bit different than your digital processors. Well, the problem is after the cleaning lady came on Monday, I started getting massive feedback in one of my subs and then one of the satellites. And I'm like, I could not figure it out. I took the whole thing apart, put it back together. Usually it means something's leaking somewhere, bad ground, a wire sitting next to another wire that's not shielded, like something squirrely is going on. So I'm like ripping through stuff. And then finally I just take the tube amp and I kind of like shake it a little bit because, it's an older piece of equipment. It's not a microprocessor, right? So then I kind of shake it and then I kind of bang it on my console for a little bit. And it was still doing it. And I was like, I don't know what the problem is. I went to bed. Next morning, wake up. I turn all the music on in the house or a podcast I'm listening to. So I turn it on. The hum's gone. No feedback. I have no idea what the problem is. But it'll probably come back. So this is like kind of what you have to deal with when you have these sorts of components. So I've been looking at a Sonos system for like 2 years. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. Just go ahead and get a Sonos system. It's all wireless. It all hooks up into your phone. It hooks up with multiple components around your house. It is really, really, really cool. And it's all wireless. It's a subwoofer with a really long, what do they call it? A sound bar for your TV. And it does all kinds of crazy stuff. And you can calibrate it with your phone. I mean, it's really, really cool. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell all this stuff while it still works. And then I'm just going to buy my Sonos system and just make life much easier. That way, when I'm doing a webinar or I'm listening to a webinar, I can listen to it in one room. I can listen to another room. Everything just seamlessly integrates. Makes life really easy. Now, am I going to miss my little hybrid tube amp and how cool it sounds and all that? Yeah, but wow, it makes life a lot less complicated. Don't have all these wires all over the place and stuff that's super special and custom and all that. It's one of the reasons I'm a member of Freedom Car Club, because some of these cars are just a pain to own. That's why I'm like, I'll get the Lambo this weekend. I'm going to rip all around town in Lamborghini. And if there's any problems with it, I just drop it off Monday and go, all right, boys, give me the next one next week. Like, y'all solve that problem. Most of these cars are they're semi-custom and almost hand-built. So they're all got little quirky problems with them from time to time. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. But also make your life, your personal, business, and intimate life, simple. It's real simple. Are these relationships serving you or are they not? Well, Jason, you understand, I can't just like cut people off. Well, what's the end result? You're still going to suffer? Like, I don't get it. Well, Jason, I'm in this deal, and this deal, I've been in it 7 years, and I know the deal is going to turn around. Why don't you call the sponsor and say, I want to be redeemed. get my money out of this. I've been in it too long. Well, I don't know. They're like some really, popular guru here in town, and I don't want to ruffle any feathers. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to continue with this relationship, this business relationship that doesn't serve you, that is obviously on your mind, and you're going to do nothing about it. At least have a conversation with them. Hey, man, I'm not real happy with how this is going. What would you propose on how to make this deal better? Like I'm just gotten to the point now, and maybe it's the turning 44 thing, where I just don't understand suffering certain things in life because certain people are in them. And yeah, I get it. It's not fun to get them out of your life. But life is short. It is really short. When I turned 40, and Dan has since passed away, so I'll tell the story. Dan was one of my first private lenders, one of the smartest people I have ever met, not just in real estate, but brilliant level guy. And when I had my 40th birthday, I invited him to the birthday party. He said, hey, some health reasons I won't be able to make it. I said, okay, it's fine. And he said, Jason, if you think the first 40 is fast, wait till the second 40. He goes, it goes by quick. And he goes, I know you're doing really well, but stop to enjoy it. That was one of the things he told me. He's like, just remember to stop and enjoy it. And then he also told me this. If there are people in your life that are keeping you from enjoying it, you need to consider getting rid of those folks. So the question is, what do you want? That's what we started the show out with. And really everything is relationship-based. Business relationships, personal relationships, and intimate relationships. Are those things serving you to get the results that you want out of your life? No, I get it. Once you get married, you get close to somebody, it's kind of, you got joint goals and you got joint results and that sort of thing. And you guys ought to have those conversations. But at the end of the day, these things have to serve you. Ryan Stone says it like this: you were born alone and you will die alone, which is absolutely true. And Tom Perry, my former business partner, used to put it this way: as far as I know, you only live one life. And I wouldn't want to live this one like a dress rehearsal for the next. So you start looking around and you go, maybe there's some people I need to take out of my life. Now, here's the other side. Maybe there's some things I need to do to improve the relationships that I have. Maybe there's something I need to change. And then you can go down that path of self-discovery. But by and large, people really don't change that much. Very few people do. Hard to become successful without changing. Grant Cardone has said it like this: your best decisions have gotten you to the place you are now. Your best decisions have gotten you to the place you are now. So at some point, you really have to change your mindset to be able to get to that next level. Not just in business, not just in fitness and health, but in relationships as well. No, I'm on the show, Rob. Rob has given me a redneck page down here. What segment here? This is the last segment, isn't it? Oh, my gosh. Rob, you just ruined the whole radio show. I'm getting redneck paged like your parents screaming at you upstairs like, come down, it's dinner time. How much time we got left?
You're done whenever you want.
Oh, I didn't realize it was going that long. All right. Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network.